Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Project Insights Project Management webinar. The topic for today is powerful relationships. Just a few things to note before we get started. All participants will be put on mute. However, any questions you have are more than welcome. Please go ahead and type those into your question box, which you can find on your GoToWebinar dashboard. We will try to answer all of your questions during the session, but if we can't, we'll make sure to address those questions in our next session following up in 2 weeks. Please note that this webinar recording and slides will be available within the Project Insight community. Also, all of our PM training sessions are valid for 1 PDU free of charge. However, you must be in attendance for the full session. I will email you your PDU certificate by the end of today. So please hold off on emailing me about your certificate until then. For all other PDU information, please visit our PI community, type in PDU in the search, and you will find the PMI rules in an article, webinars, and PDUs. My name is Denise, and I will be your moderator for today. I'm on the marketing team here at Project Insight. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to reach me at denise.rodriguez@projectinsight.com. If you're not already familiar with Project Insight, we're a cloud-based project management solution. We work with two kinds of companies, those that are rapidly growing and need to scale the way they're managing their projects, and those who want greater visibility across their project portfolio, want more insight into the workloads of the resources, and want a better way to collaborate on projects among team members. If any of these sound familiar to you and you would like to learn more, please feel free to contact us via phone, email, or of course you can always request your demo at projectinsight.net. Our presenter and host for today will be Diane Buckley. Diane is the CEO of Core Performance Concepts. CPC helps companies by training team members in project management, PMP preparation, leadership, and business analysis. Diane has an MBA and PMP and over 30 years of experience in the PM industry. Diane is on the line. However, she is attending, I believe, a last-minute call, but she will hop on and join us a little bit later.
I'm here right now, but yes. Welcome, everybody.
There she is.
Yeah. But you guys are in great hands, so I am not worried at all.
Yes, you are. And, of course, in great hands, you are in Brenda Williams' hands. She has been coached and guided project managers to become extraordinary leaders and exceptional communicators. She now runs the Academy for Leadership Communication, where she helps individuals and organizations make critical changes in their behavior, mindset, and skills by empowering peak performance through communication, collaboration, and innovation. Please welcome Brenda Williams. Good morning, Brenda. How are you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing, Denise?
I'm doing amazing. I'm really excited for today's webinar. This is an all-new session, so I'm excited. Like I've said before, I also learned from these, so I'm happy to sit in on these and start answering some of these great questions and comments that we'll probably have from our audience. So with that said, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you. I will look for the show my screen to pop up, and then we can switch over. There we go. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. As usual, I'm very excited to be here. I love sharing the message about building better relationships and communicating more effectively. I believe it's at the heart and the soul of our happiness and success in the world. So for over 25 years, I've been working in the business world, and I've heard all types of stories about office challenges, all the way from working with people in the field to the C-level executives. And when they talk to me about their goals, their obstacles, and their challenges, surprisingly enough, it's not the product or the service that they focus on. It's always about the people issues. So in the project management world, Some of the challenges I hear most often revolve around people aren't delivering in a timely manner, they're not returning my calls, we're falling behind schedule because of that. Have you ever stopped to wonder why that truly is? Why people really aren't as engaged as you hope they would be? We make a lot of assumptions and interpretations around that. In many cases, we'll look at people and think it's the person. But what I have found over and over again is it's really about the relationship. It's about building a stronger relationship that can start changing and shifting that person, that can motivate. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are we going through the slides, or are you still on your presenter slide?
I am on the presenter, and I'll be shifting in just a second.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So with that being said, I find that it's really about the assumptions and interpretations we make. So today I'm going to ask you to challenge yourself around why is that? Why are people not as engaged as we would like? At the end of this webinar, you will be able to build more effective conversations and connect at a deeper level and build more trusting relationships and gain more commitment. And that directly relates to becoming more connected, creating more relevant relationships, resonating with people at a different level, and making an impact. It really makes a difference in our lives, from how we lead our children, manage the people that we work with on our projects, and interface with our boss. So it shows up in all facets of our life. And when these relationships get deeper, you have a much more engaged, excited, and enthusiastic team. It's just the way it works. I've seen it over and over again as I coach people and teach them how to have these conversations. So before we get started, I'd like to ask you, where would you like to improve your relationships first? Let's do a poll, Denise, our first poll. Is it more with your boss, your peer, your client, or is it personal? And it would help if you all take part in this, because the more I understand your needs and challenges, the more I can speak to those particular needs. The other day I had a client who was telling me they had a heated conversation with someone in the office, and it was an internal employee at a higher level. And the conversation became heated. And so they jumped to those assumptions and interpretations about, it was about the person. You know, this person's difficult, which many of us have done. And what they found is when they started applying some of the skills and tools I'm going to share with you today, they've started learning more about that person. And they realized that that person had a personal challenge going on in their life that had to do with their mom being sick. And things weren't going well. And that's why the person was showing up the way they were. Makes a big difference when you understand what's really happening behind the scenes. So we got 21% of the people would like to have a better relationship with their boss, 26% with their peers, 26% with their clients. Oh my goodness, 26% with personal. It's really spread out, even. Okay, well, that's good to know. So they show up in all facets of our lives, as we can see from that poll. Thank you, Denise. So let's move on then. Let's just jump right into this. I have a lot of materials to cover today. I want to ask you to take some notes and to think about what can I apply to start building and improving those relationships so we can connect deeper. So just think about that person that you just were thinking about during the poll. Who is that person, and what do you want to apply based on what you learned today? Some of you are already receiving my program and my communication book. I just want you to know I'll be sending that to you if you are not receiving it. And it will take what we're talking about today and peel back the layers of the onion and add a lot of facets to it to help you become a better communicator and a better leader. So I hope you all enjoy that program. So let's move into my next question. Think about that relationship that you want to make better or repair. And I want to know what's been standing in your way. If you can type your answers into the chat box, Denise is going to share a few of those with me. and I'd like to address a couple of them. What do you think's standing in your way of having a better relationship with that person? So I'm going to move on to the next slide while you type in your answers, and then I'll pause after the next slide and we'll respond to some of those. So please go ahead and type in some of your responses. That would be really valuable. Let's talk about being real and authentic. What does that mean to you? Many people I talk to, you think of vulnerable as a dirty word. They do not want to be vulnerable. They don't want to show their flaws or their weaknesses. There's a book out by Brenda Williams called Daring Greatly. She's done a lot of TED Talks. She's been on Oprah. She speaks to 10 years of research around being open and authentic and vulnerable. When you are more open and authentic, people will respond to that. They will let their walls down, their guard down, and they will open up and share more with you than you've ever imagined. And that's the first step to creating a deeper connection. So just ask yourself that question. What am I doing to be more authentic? Denise, do you have any responses on my last question?
Oh, yes. We have a lot of them that came in. Let's see. There's ego, fears, pride, perception, inability to build rapport, politics in the office, trust, stress. Let's see. There's a lot of ego and a lot of lack of trust and lack of communication. Can you speak to those?
Yes, I will. Actually, I'm writing notes as you said that, because there's a common theme with a lot of those. When you talk about the trust and the politics and the fears, many times I hear people are fearful of losing their job. They're fearful of the credibility that they're going to lose if they let their true self show up. They don't trust other people. They might stab me in the back. You know, they might take my position. I don't want to look bad, so I have the fear of speaking up in a meeting. It shows up in so many different forms. But I can tell you, based on what I'm going to share with you today and all of the research I've done and all of the people I work with, that when you decide to build these deeper relationships, that will change. Because trust is part of the relationship. And being authentic directly relates to trust. And people's ego is part of the wall. It's part of the guard that they have up so they can protect themselves from being authentic. So they're all directly related. And we're going to speak to a lot of this today as we go through the presentation. So just keep in mind that this is really the first step, to take a look in the mirror as to what you're doing to be authentic. Are you letting your ego stand in the way? Because when you start changing, other people will change around you. I want to quickly touch upon the behavioral styles. The reason being is I see this show up in every facet of communication. It directly relates to how you talk to people. So I want to share a little quick funny story with you about something I heard in an emotional intelligence workshop that I went to. I'm constantly taking a deeper dive into emotional intelligence, how we communicate, our self-awareness, how we work with and manage our relationships with other people. And it relates to our behavioral styles over and over again, because if you're a dominant controller person, you're very driven, you're very detail-oriented. Look on the left here, you're task-focused, and you like to get things done quickly. As you move up and around the circle, and you see the yellow box that says influence, expressive, you're more interactive. You want to feel people. You want to have relationships. You want to have fun. Then when you move down to the green box, you're more amiable. These are the supporters, secretaries, a lot of HR people, a lot of people that really like to help and give and care about people. And so these people are a little bit, let's slow the pace down. Let's have a relationship. Let's talk about our weekend and maybe our personal lives. Then you move into the blue box where we're analytical. And these are a lot of accountants, IT people, data-driven, data-focused. And again, they like lots of details. Now, we're not doing a deep dive into this today, so if you haven't studied the behavioral styles and mastered them, I highly recommend you do that. or give me a call, because they play hand in hand with how you communicate. If you're a dominant controller, you get a lot done. You're very task focused. You check your boxes and you're getting results. But at what cost? Because the people in the office that like to talk about their weekend aren't connecting with you at that deeper level. I was coaching a client of mine who said, I get into the office in the morning and I'm so focused and I've got my checklist and I take great pride in getting results. He says, and I watch people walking around. This one person in particular walks around and talks to everybody and drinks coffee, and I look at her thinking, what is she doing? Isn't she ever going to get to work? And fast forward the clock 2 or 3 months later, after we've talked about building relationships, he now realizes that's what she's doing. She's connecting with people. She's building deeper connections, people that are going to follow her, people that are going to give her more information, that are going to return her calls. So understanding these 4 key areas of how people like to be communicated to is really crucial, something that I recommend that you further explore. So we're all different, and if you accept and respect that, life will change around you. When I'm working with people, I ask them to take a moment to look at their values and their beliefs and their mindset. What drives them? How do they think things should be? What's right or wrong, good or bad? And then I ask them to step outside of their box and look at everybody else around them and realize we're all different. And when you accept that and respect it, your relationships can start to change. Understanding others is what this is about. Understanding where they're coming from and their viewpoints and perspectives. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. I know this picture's a little fuzzy, but I just think it's so adorable, and every time I look at it, it puts a smile on my face. So I hope it put a smile on your face this morning. So what's the first law? You build strong, powerful relationships through the conversation. And it's not one person impressing the other. You talk about the ego. The ego can take part of that, where people are trying to show how much they know versus listen to the other person and see how much they can learn. And that's where restraining the urge to impress people comes into play. Let your ego sit aside and apply some active listening. It will be a game changer. When I deliver my workshops, I do exercises around active listening, and I always have a chuckle because I realize that the majority of us have to really, really pay attention to do active listening. We have a lot of filters, a lot of values, a lot of beliefs, and our own personal and business agendas. So typically when we approach somebody, we're approaching them with our own need, our own desire, our own agenda, and we're not truly listening to where they're coming from. So start being curious. Ask more questions and keep an open mind. And you'll be surprised how much you will learn and how easy it will be to respond and communicate with people more effectively. I have a client who looks at it now as a beach ball. He says, when I talk to people, I look at it as a beach ball. I'm the blue stripe, and this is how I think, but now I realize there's people out there that are red, yellow, and green stripe, and I want to understand where they're coming from so that I can communicate with them more effectively. And it's working very well for him. You have to have curiosity and take a step back and a pause from what your agenda is. So what's the first strategy to having a great conversation? It's going to be give and take. Listening, understanding where they're coming from, realizing there's different approaches. Everything will not always be done the way you want it done. For some of us, that's harder than others. But there are different ways to get the same result. Accepting that gives you a lot more peace. Applying the active listening is crucial. And showing a little passion and emotion in that relationship. Are you the person that comes to that meeting and peps everybody up and gets them excited? Or are you the one that kind of comes and you're a little stressed and maybe you're draining the meeting that day? Are you focused on the solution? Or are you talking about the problem? Do you have enough passion and emotion? Or sometimes too much, depending on who you're working with? Ask yourself this. Pay attention for the next few weeks as you approach your meetings and your conversations. For some of us, empathy is harder than for others. When you look at the behavioral styles, the amiable people, the supporters, they really care about emotions and people's feelings, and they can empathize pretty easily. Some of us are more analytical, more data-driven, more focused on results. We don't have a lot of time for that. But depending on where you are, it's important to take a breath and realize that we all have personal lives. We have things that cause us stress and frustration, and a little empathy can go a long way if you care about somebody else's challenges. And when you mirror back what you're hearing, it's very, very important. And what I mean by that is when someone's talking to you, repeat back what you think you heard so that you know for sure that you interpreted it exactly as they meant it. If you practice more of that, you will have less miscommunication. So a real quick story. I was working with someone who came to me for an initial consultation, and he said, I just got a performance review. And in my performance review, they said that I come across a little sterile. In his case, he lacked emotion and passion. And that can stem to how we grew up, situations that occurred at a younger age as to why that might occur. But he had learned to really suppress his emotions and passion. So he wasn't coming across as a leader with excitement and enthusiasm. And it was causing a problem as far as him getting promoted. So for some of us, that's not a problem. We have lots of it, maybe too much. And for others, we don't have enough. So just ask yourself, where are you on the scale of each of these areas? How can I be a better listener? Do I have enough passion and emotion for any given situation? Am I empathizing enough with people, understanding their needs, their challenges? And do I really understand what they're saying? These sound like little simple things to do, but you'll be surprised when you pay attention how often they go undone. Law number 2, don't be afraid to ask. I was talking to someone the other day that said he applied for a position and he wanted to get promoted. And I said, well, how's that going? And he said, well, I haven't heard back yet, and I probably won't because I'm probably not qualified. So there were some limiting beliefs there and some gremlins, some inner critic. I'm not really ready for that. Whether you think you're ready or not, don't be afraid to ask. You might be surprised what will happen if you do. And that leads me into talking about fear. This is a video I love to show, but because we're on a webinar, it usually lacks and you can't get the full gist of it. So I just want you to think about this statement. Root yourself in the present moment. Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not exist and may never exist. And that is near insanity. This is a movie by Will Smith. It was called After Earth, and the whole movie is about emotions and fear. You might want to look for it. It's a fun movie to watch. But when you're usually fearful about something, it's because you're too concerned about what's going to happen in the future. Now, if a lion is attacking you, or you have a snake in your driveway like I did last night, then the fear can really kick in. And it could be real, something to pay attention to. But in most cases, we're fearful of things that are never going to happen, and it's our limiting beliefs that stand in our way. So if there's anything that you're fearing in any of your conversations or relationships, ask yourself how true it really is. Because I would challenge you on that thinking. in many, many cases. So how do you really connect with people? I would tell my clients to go out and build relationships, and I thought, that's a simple thing. And I quickly realized that they're not always comfortable doing it. So having the right tools can make a big difference. First, you got to make a list. Who are the top 10 to 15 people that you want to connect with? Okay, you have your one person you spoke about earlier, but make a bigger list. Who are the people in your career and your life that you'd like to connect with? And think about what your goal is. First, you need to know what your goal is. What do you want to get out of those relationships? Is it helping somebody? Is it getting a promotion in your career? Is it learning something new? Pick motivated people that are talented and passionate people that you want to surround yourself with. So you've got that list, and ask yourself, why would they be willing to work with me? What do I have to bring to help them? Now, this is where you have to get creative. Many, many times I'll have people say, well, I don't really have anything in common with them, or, you know, they're higher up in the food chain. How could I possibly help them? And when you get creative, you'll be surprised what you can learn. When you understand other people's needs and where they're coming from, you can start sharing ideas. You can share suggestions, articles. You can send them a book, something that will help and support their needs. Connect them in your network. If it's someone new to the area, see if you can help them on a personal level. Maybe they need to learn the city or what schools to take their children to. Maybe you can start having fun. I used to throw networking parties. I mean, full parties at my house with full business networking meetings, but with fun, live music and magicians, and it helped me bond with people. It helped me get people that wouldn't normally return my call to start calling. Acknowledge them for who they are and what they've accomplished, what they've achieved. We all have egos of some sort, and that can go a long way. And most importantly, be persistent, because many of the people we want to connect with may not be returning our calls right away. It takes a little time and effort. Sometimes it can take 3 to 6 months. But people that have made it to higher levels typically will appreciate persistence and tenacity. If you keep getting your name out there in front of them, you'll be surprised who will return your call. There was an intern that I worked with, and that intern was someone who had that persistence. And they had gone out and they wanted to be an intern to take pictures. Just a short little story about this. They wanted to be a photographer. And they wanted to work under a top photographer and travel the world. So they followed this exact strategy. They made a list of who would be willing to work with me. Why would they be willing? They started using social media to contact them. They got their name in front of them. They sent them information and articles. They asked to be an intern. This person was 21 years old. So they didn't have that fear already built up. They took a chance, and they kept working on it. This person was 21 years old, and they're now traveling the world taking pictures and doing videos for a top movie star, a singer, a very famous rapper. And I just was so impressed with this person because they didn't let fear stand in their way. They got creative, they kept at it, and they're now living their dream. What is it that you want to get? Who are the people that can help you get there? So that leads us into law number 3. Follow the person, not the position. Once people make it to the top level, they're typically too busy to return your call. And you haven't built that trust with them. So I recommend finding the people that are at a different level. Find people that you see around you today that you see as rising stars, people that are going places. Build relationships with them today. So a year or two from now, you'll be very close and have those trusting relationships with people that have made it to the top. So what does trust mean to you? I'd love it if you could type some of your answers into the chat box. And Denise, as they come up, please feel free to interrupt me. I'd love to hear, what does trust mean to you? How do you show that you're trustworthy? And who do you trust that you interact with? Trust is a word.
All right, we have some coming in.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see, open communication, someone honor and respect, someone who's transparent, someone who's genuine, honesty, someone who lets go of their ego. These are all really good. What do you think?
I think they're great, and they tie hand in hand with right where we started from. Being authentic, that touches on being genuine. Being willing to admit your strengths and some of your gaps. Having that open communication. Being able to deliver the bad news or the good news.
Brenda, I have one that's come up a couple of times. It's non-mental. Can you speak on that, on people who just built like bad judgment on others?
Is that people that have built judgment on you, or are you building judgment? Tell me a little bit more about the scenario.
Out of what I'm seeing is people building judgment on this person.
Okay, so people judging another human being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, I will touch on that because judgment is near and dear to my heart. It's part of my 7 levels of effective thinking, and it's in the outer circle of getting to the higher levels where you have more passion and joy in your life. Because as we judge others, it directly affects the relationship. And so often we're judging others without really understanding who they are or where they're coming from. And it ties back to understanding and opening up to realize we are all different. So can you give me an example, Denise, of a specific type of judgment?
They haven't shared an example, but if it comes up, I'll be happy to share that with you and the audience.
Well, a lot of the judgment that I see as I coach people stems to probably 3 main areas. The first would be judging people because they don't do things the way you think they should be done. And so for some of us, the controller drivers think things should be done a certain way, and if it's not, it can really frustrate them. Real simple example is one of my clients goes to a business meeting. And in the business meeting, he's very prepared, very organized. He has everything together, and he expects everybody else to show up that way. Now, most of you know as project managers, not everybody shows up in that light. They might be late to the meeting. They might not show up to the meeting. They come unprepared. They can't answer the questions. They don't have the details. So the judgment that can be connected to that directly relates to being frustrated. This person doesn't care. They're not engaged. You know, why do I have to work with this person? So judgment can get in the way of how you respond and react to an individual human being, which directly reflects upon your conversation and your relationship. So in order to build these powerful connections, judgment has to fly out the window. And I ask people to take a step back and say, what are you judging and why? And how can you look at it differently? Pause yourself and truly understand where that person's coming from. Why do they think the way they think? Why did they do what they did? So many times people are coming late to meetings because they're overloaded. They were in the last meeting that ran late. It was out of their control. Or maybe they had a sick kid they had to deal with in the morning. What's really behind that? And that's where the empathy comes into play. Because sometimes we're so focused on our agenda, we're not focused on understanding and having a little empathy. It'll go a long way if you start really paying attention to your judgment. It's a life-changing experience. Thank you for bringing that up. So how do you build trust in history with the people you want to connect with? Again, you want to have a list. You want to understand their goals, their needs, and their desires. Where are they headed in life? And how can you add value to that? How can you help others and support them and their needs and their goals? And how can you stay in touch? It goes back to what I shared earlier. Sharing information, ideas, different perspectives, articles, books. How can you help them? If you tie this into SMART goals, you'll find that you can really get somewhere with this. Because now you've got your list, you know who the people are, and it's going to take a little bit of being organized. Because it does take time to build trust and relationships, you want to take some notes along the way. Where are you going to document that? What you gather and what you learn about people and their families. So a SMART goal, most of you probably know, is specific, it's measurable, achievable, with a result attached to a timeline. So let me just give you an example. Let's just say you're looking to get a promotion in your office and there's an executive that you'd like to build a relationship with. What's it going to take to meet with them? Invite them to lunch. And if they say yes, great, you're off. If they say no, find out what's going on for that person. Do a little research, a little homework. What groups are they involved in? Are they doing any speaking engagements? Are they involved in any networking? What are some of their career goals? How can you help and support them? And start sending them information, reaching out to them, taking different approaches each time. Maybe do it twice a month. And over a 6-month period, take notes, document it, try new approaches, and see what you can do to start building a relationship. If you do that, you'll be surprised how your network will grow. How in a year from now, you'll have amazing relationships. One of my clients...
Question.
Go ahead.
How do you do that research/homework? Do you ask them directly?
Yes, you can ask them. You can ask the people around them. You can go on LinkedIn, see what they're up to. Google the person. Find out what they're doing out there. Find out more about their interests outside of the office. And some people are involved in nonprofits and different organizations. See if you can get involved in those. There's so many different ways you can get creative. Thank you for that question. The next law is, look at the greatest gift is believing in someone. So I want to ask you, who do you believe in? And who are you showing that you believe in them? I'd love it if you could give me some of your responses in the chat box. How do you show people that you believe in them? And this will go hand in hand with encouraging people to step out of their comfort zone. In many cases, the reason people aren't delivering is they're overloaded or uncomfortable with doing something. When people get out of their comfort zone, they'll tend to avoid situations for the fear of making a mistake. So if you learn the skill and the tool to be able to inspire people, to believe in them, to encourage them that they can do it, that they're capable of doing it, that's where you become a leader, inspiring and mentoring and motivating people so they can believe in themselves. I do it every day in coaching. People come to me all the time uncomfortable with a situation. And when I help inspire and motivate them and get them to believe in themselves and build the self-confidence and take that first step, they start learning and growing and they change their whole world. But it takes that first person to believe in them. Let me know if you get any response to that, Denise.
We do actually. To some of the things that you mentioned, you empower them to make decisions, you support them, You praise them. You help them in any way that you can. Um, encourage them, reassure them, guide them. All good examples.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I've written those down because I always like to make sure I'm touching on all of those key points. So let's see what I have here. Encouragement, support, express it often. Ask yourself, when the last time I actually expressed this to somebody, that I believed in them, and how much I appreciate them. Mentor them and keep doing it. Don't stop. So here's some ideas. Again, you could make a list. Who are the people I'm having the biggest challenge with in this relationship? And go through each of these laws, each of these areas, find out what's important to them, find out where their challenges are, and help to support them at a deeper level. Like, what can you truly do to make a difference? So, for example, one of my clients was seeing some issues on her teams. There was a lack of motivation and people were really feeling burnt out because of some challenges that were internally happening. And what she did was, instead of getting sucked into the negative complaining, blaming game, she started uncovering what was truly going on. She started having these conversations at the C-level and started bridging the gap between the local team and the executive team as to how people were feeling. What were their emotions? Why were they feeling disconnected? What was really happening? And when she started supporting and understanding the needs of both teams and sharing what was happening, people started to release their judgment. They started to see things from a different perspective, and they started bridging that gap and coming together. But she had to believe in each individual, believe that they could change their ways, that they could stop being negative, that they could open up their minds, that they could communicate more effectively. And that's all the important things on your projects. How do you get people to collaborate, to let their egos go, to build better relationships? The person that you're having the most difficulty with is that person that you need to release the judgment with and believe in and try to connect with at a deeper level. So here's the last law. Know the other person's agenda and help them accomplish it. So you're noticing a common theme here. We're coming back to help and support others. And the last answers you shared, Denise, it was guide, empower, praise, help, and support. The more you do that, the more people are going to have those deeper connections with you. But you have to understand their agenda. So how do you understand their agenda? Know what their personal needs are, not just their business needs. When we're just work-focused, you're missing a piece of the equation. Think about the people that you have the deepest relationships with and the most trust. Actually in most cases, I'll go so far to say that you have some type of personal relationship. And I'm not saying you go on vacation together, but at least you go to lunch, have coffee, maybe dinner once in a while, and you understand what's really important to that person. What are their top priorities? How can you help them get there? Look at their goals and their needs. So what I want to do is share with you some questions that you can ask to understand these. So you might want to jot these down. And you can twist and turn these depending on your project and who you're working with, whether it's an internal client, a stakeholder, an external client, a vendor. But how will your area be evaluated at the end of the month? How will your project be evaluated at the end of the month? So what could come out of that? What could you gather from asking a question like that? Really understanding their priorities, their needs, what's going to happen to them. Hey, if it's evaluated a certain way, how's it going to affect your role or your promotion you're looking for? Many people that are working on projects, it's all about being on time, being within budget. Got to make sure I get this done because my job, my performance, my review, and my raise and my promotion are all directly connected to that. Do people even want to get promoted? Some people want to stay in the role they're in. Understanding that can go a long way. Here's another question. What are the major goals you've been asked to accomplish by your leadership? And how do you feel about that? Some people want to be leaders. They're aspiring to move up the ladder. How can you help and support them? What are you working on this year that you're most excited about? Understand their passion, their needs, their goals. These all tie to open-ended questions that begin with, and you might want to write these down, who, what, when, where, why, how, and tell me more. Open-ended questions. It's another exercise I do. I work with people on role-playing so they can get confident in asking enough of these questions to truly understand where people are coming from. It's a skill that you can learn very easily. Mastering self-awareness and communication is the key to happiness and success. And I see this in my own life as well as everybody I come in contact with. Think about all of your conversations that you have with your friends, your coworkers, people you work with, your family. Most of their challenges will directly relate to conversations, communication, and how they approach situations. So if you want to be happier and you want to be more successful and have less stress, mastering the power of communication and having these deeper conversations is crucial. Let me share with you how this shows up in real life. This is a project manager I've worked with, and actually I've worked with many. So there's a common theme. In the beginning, they're stressed out, unhappy, having challenges. For each person, that's different. It might be people challenges, it might be project challenges. The challenge will vary. But what is very, very similar is if you want to have more happiness and joy and more success, it's about the relationship. So look at this list, the after lists. To become a change agent inside an organization, to get change so that things are more of what you want, requires building relationships with people. To be an inspirational leader requires having the right conversations, mentoring, inspiring the right people. To be able to release the judgment, it requires accepting and understanding and appreciating other people's perspectives. And in a particular case of a recent person I was working with, how do you go about doing that? Well, one of his goals, just one of the goals was, I want to become a better leader. I want to inspire and mentor others. It's a personal need of mine. And he started seeking out ways to do that. They were bringing on a project management class inside his company. And he said, excuse me, he said, I don't need a project management class. I'm already PMP certified. I've been a project manager for many years. But by joining that project management class, I can interface with a lot of the younger project managers, and I can set up a support group. I can be a change agent. I can mentor and inspire them and help them. So he started inviting them to a lunch where he could help do a lunch and learn in a study group and mentor them. At first, 1 or 2 people came, and then 3 or 4, and now it's turning into a much larger group. But he started that group. And he said to me the other day, I can't tell you how much joy and fulfillment I had. On my 7-level program, he was at a 6, which is like true passion and fulfillment. He said the feeling that I got from helping others was really overwhelming. So you'd be amazed when you make the time to go the extra mile to help others, how much it'll come back to you tenfold. What a difference it will make when you apply all of these skills, the active listening, asking the right questions, letting your guard down, letting your ego step aside, connecting at a deeper level. What's your action plan? How do you want to build these deeper relationships? You see the pillars here. It starts with your own awareness. Asking yourself the questions I posed today. How am I showing up today? It's looking at your mindset. Am I judging others? Am I taking things personally? Do I have fear standing in my way? It's mastering the leadership skills around communication. Being able to ask the right questions. And then executing, putting a plan in place. So what are you going to do next? I'm going to share some options with you that I can provide to help and support you. I want to encourage you to find a way to move in this direction. I know from everybody I work with, when they apply the things I've shared today, their life changes. They get things done quicker. They have less headache. And David said to me the other day, I'm just really surprised at how I used to do things and how I do them today. He said, I can't believe how much easier it is. People come to me now. They come to me for support. I get what I'm asking for. I'm not constantly putting out fires. I'm not feeling the stress I used to feel because things are happening simply. And the relationship is at the root cause of all of that. So on Monday, May 16th, I'm doing a Taming Your Gremlin book club at my home in Anaheim Hills for those of you that live locally. I can also set up a conference line for those of you that want to join us on a conference line and be part of this. The Taming Your Gremlin book is the first step to creating more self-awareness. It's overcoming fear. It's learning what's standing in your way of moving forward and having these types of conversations and reaching out to the people that you might be intimidated to approach. It's the very first step. Many of you have probably heard of Daniel Goleman. He's known as the expert, the god of emotional intelligence, which is really at the root and the heart of everything we've talked about today. So I love this little quote I found. The rules for work are changing. We're being judged by a new yardstick, not just by how smart we are, but by how we handle ourselves and each other. And more companies are starting to realize that emotional intelligence is crucial to the success of an organization. And I believe it's at the root cause of you having more self-awareness, being able to express yourself in a more effective way, and being able to deal with all of the types of people that you interface with at a deeper level. One that will really change the game in your relationships to get you more of what you want. The best part of what I've shared today is you can do this personally and professionally. So for those of you that want to go to the next level and are interested in working with me, I have a new offer I put together, and I put a date on my next workshop, which is going to be September 17th. It will be in California. It's going to be an emotional intelligence workshop focused on most of what I talked about today. It's going to be an opportunity to take an emotional intelligence assessment to get a pulse on where you're at today. It's an opportunity to master the active listening and the powerful questions and approaching these types of conversations, and also get a one-on-one coaching session with me on how to move to the next level. So I put together a very special promotion. This is actually a wonderful opportunity as far as the offer I hope that you'll take advantage of. If I can help or support you in any way, please feel free to reach out to me. Denise, do we have time to take a couple questions?
Yes, let's take a couple questions here. Let me see. I was jotting these down because this chat box gets really full. All right. So here's one. I work from a remote location, and I don't get to interact very often with my coworkers. Sometimes you can't really get to know someone over the phone. Do you have any suggestions?
I feel for you. I know that over the phone is tougher. So I know that that is a little more challenging. Personally, I like the face-to-face. But we know that's not always possible. I mean, Denise and I actually have built quite a nice little relationship. I adore her. And most of our communication is on the phone. So it really is possible. But it's taken that time to reach out to people, maybe finding the right time. Are they going to be more available to talk in the morning or in the evening or on their lunch break where you can get them to relax a little bit? You know, take a stab or two at, hey, how was your weekend? What's going on in your world? Ask people how you can help and support them, and you might be surprised what you'll hear. Maybe do some FaceTime, some Skyping. See what you can do to build that bridge, to build a stronger rapport. It's a little more challenging over the phone. I won't disregard that, but it is possible.
Yes, and I'll speak to that, and thank you, Brenda, for that. You know, sometimes just picking up the phone goes a long way, and that's something that Brenda has done. I'm not used to speaking on the phone other than on their webinars. You know, I'm more of an email type of communicator or text message, you know, but she picks up the phone and she'll call me and we'll chat. We'll chat about our weekend. We'll have that little chat time to get to know each other, and I've really learned to appreciate that. I feel that it has helped our relationship and working together. So, you know, just something to think about.
Thank you, Denise. And it's, you know, for some of us, I'm a little older than Denise. I like talking to people. I enjoy building the relationship. I'm not as much of a text and email, but for many, many of us, we've fallen behind the email chain, and you can get much, much better results and build much better relationships when you do the FaceTime and the in-person. For those of you that are a younger generation, I encourage you and inspire you to do that. And for those of you that are where I'm at, you know, ask yourself, how often am I emailing versus really building that one-on-one relationship and picking up the phone? Catch yourself next time. So our next,
thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you. So our next webinar is going to be on May 25th, and what we're going to do is a continuation of what we just did. So I encourage you to send in your questions. And if any of you would like to phone in or raise your hand to do a phone call with us that day, all you need is a quiet room. I can do some coaching on the line, and we can take your questions. So please send them in. We will be speaking to them so that we can take this to the next level and take it out of theory and into overcoming your obstacles and your challenges and help you be more successful. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I really enjoy delivering the message and being here with all of you. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Brenda. And just a few more slides before we end today's webinar. Core Performance Concepts does have a special promotion for you. If you'd like to continue to improve your project management skills, they're offering a 10% discount for online courses, so go ahead and check them out today. I've included that link in your chat box for those of you that are interested. As far as PDUs, you will receive your PDU certificate later on today. If you have any questions, comments, or anything else I can help you with, please feel free to reach me at denise.rodriguez@projectinsight.com. You will earn 1 PDU per webinar attended, and to register your PDUs, you must log into PMI.org and log in as a member of PMI. select course or training, and fill out all the information below, which will also be available in your PDU certificate. For those of you on social media, I'd like to invite you to follow, like, and subscribe to our social media channels. If you enjoyed today's webinar, let us know. Send us a shout out and we'll be happy to respond. Our handle on Twitter is @ProjectInsight. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for the latest and PI news. And in our Project Insight community, you'll find many recorded videos and webinars for you to watch and learn from. You can also sign up for your next project management training, leadership, IT methodology, and Agile, as well as product training. These are all free, so go ahead and check them out and register for as many as you'd like. And I think that is all we have for you today. Thank you, Brenda, once again for a great presentation. And I'd like to especially thank our audience for joining us today and for all the great questions and comments, which we will also address in our follow-up in practice session in 2 weeks. So go ahead and register for that if you haven't already done so. And I will talk to you guys soon. Take care and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.